Part 1. The first time I saw Chloe Miller, it was inside the gleaming cathedral-like Mercedes-Benz dealership in the heart of Orange County. I was 6 months out of college and had just been made a permanent hire at a major defense contractor. My parents, who had done well for themselves in real estate development, started nagging me about the brutal commute from their place and insisted on helping me get a car. They were comfortable, but I was 23 and determined to stand on my own 2 feet. I couldn't just keep taking handouts. I finally relented after my dad zelled me $50,000, to which I added a couple grand of my own. The April sun was generous, pouring through the massive plate glass windows and setting the polished cars on the showroom floor ablaze with light. The air smelled of new leather and ambition. I was standing next to a polar white C-Class sedan, my fingers tracing the car's fluid lines while my eyes scanned the spec sheet. Not really committed to anything yet. A crisp voice cut through my thoughts. The C300 is one of our most popular models, sir. It's perfect for city driving. Would you like me to walk you through some of the features? It was cool and refreshing, like a mint lifesaver. When I turned, I actually froze for a second. Chloe was dressed in a tailored navy blue uniform, pressed without a single wrinkle. A silk scarf was tied in a perfect knot at her collar, and her long hair was pulled back in a sleek low ponytail. A single pearl earring stud on each earlobe caught the light, glowing softly. Her eyes were bright, like they held starlight, and when she smiled, the corners crinkled into little crescents, revealing 2 faint dimples. She radiated a calm, confident energy, completely lacking the desperate pounce on the customer vibe you get from most salespeople. "I'm just looking for a daily driver, mostly for getting around town," I said, pulling my gaze back to the car and touching the cool metal of the door. "What kind of gas mileage does this get in the city? And can I get a different interior color?" She walked briskly to the driver's side, bending to open the door with a practiced fluid motion. A delicate silver bracelet on her wrist glinted for a moment. "You'll get around 25 miles per gallon in the city. The interior can be customized, but we'd have to order it, which takes about a week. Why don't you have a seat inside? The lumbar support is fully adjustable, so you won't get tired on long drives." As I slid into the driver's seat, she didn't hover over me with an endless sales pitch like the others. She just stood outside the car, her hands clasped professionally in front of her. "Take your time," she said. "Just let me know if you have any questions." The sunlight framed her, casting a warm halo around her silhouette. In that moment, a thought crossed my mind. Maybe I'd be leaving with more than just a new car today. Part 2. Later, I was squatting by the rear of the car, checking out the trunk space and tapping on the divider, wondering if I could fit my camping gear in there for weekend trips. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Chloe with another customer, a middle-aged guy in a loud Hawaiian shirt whose gaze kept drifting all over her. When he spoke, he tried to casually place a hand on her arm. Each time, Chloe would take a subtle half-step back, her polite smile never wavering, but her tone carried a professional, unmistakable distance. After she finally got rid of the guy, I waved her over. "If I pay in cash, what kind of deal can you give me? And how soon can I take it home?" She hurried over, flipping through a brochure as she crouched down beside me. A stray strand of hair fell across her face, and she didn't bother to push it away, which somehow made her look even more effortlessly natural. "With a cash offer, I can knock 3% off the MSRP and throw in your first 2 basic services. We can have it ready for you in about a week." I looked at her focused profile and, on a sudden impulse, asked, "What's your name? Who should I contact for follow-up questions?" She looked up surprised for a second, then broke into a grin that revealed 2 small, cute canines. "I'm Chloe Miller. Here's my card. You can call me for anything. Delivery, service appointments, you name it." She handed me a simple cream-colored business card with her name and number. On the back, she had neatly written her personal cell and Instagram handle. The handwriting itself seemed gentle. I didn't hesitate. For one, the car was exactly what I wanted. And for another, a new thought was taking root in my mind. I needed to find more reasons to talk to her. I've always been decisive. When I see something I want, I don't overthink it. "I'll take it," I said. Her eyes lit up instantly. "Great. I'll go draw out the paperwork right now." While we were handling the finances, she ran back and forth, getting her manager to approve an extra discount, and even leaned in to whisper, "You could just get the basic insurance plan. You don't need all the extras. It'll save you a lot of money." As I watched her double-checking the documents, the way her pen moved across the paper seemed unusually graceful. That strange little spark of attraction I'd felt earlier quietly began to grow into a flame. Part 3. On the day I picked up the car, Chloe had it detailed to a mirror shine. Even the dust in the wheel spokes was gone. She had placed a little Maneki Nico, a waving lucky cat, on the dashboard. Its orange body and bobbing head were oddly charming. "For good luck on the road," she said. "It's just a small gift from me. I hope you don't mind." "Mind? It's adorable. Thank you," I said with a smile. As I reached for it, my fingers accidentally brushed against hers. She recoiled as if she'd been burned, the tips of her ears turning a faint shade of pink. "Thank you for everything today," I said, pressing my advantage. "I'd like to take you to dinner to celebrate, just somewhere nearby. Nothing fancy." She looked flustered, her fingers twisting the hem of her blazer. After a long moment of hesitation, she finally gave a small nod. "Okay, but not somewhere too expensive. I only have an hour and a half for my lunch break." We went to a trendy sushi spot next to the dealership. It was a small, cozy place with warm lighting and not too many people. She ordered a spicy tuna roll and miso soup like a regular. "They make the best rolls here," she explained with a smile. "The fish is always fresh, and it's a great deal." During the meal, I avoided talking about the car. Instead, I asked her, "Is working in car sales tough? You seem to be running around a lot back there." She stirred the seaweed in her soup with her spoon and let out a soft sigh, but her smile returned just as quickly. "It's fine. It can be draining when you get difficult customers, so you have to be patient. To be honest, straightforward buyers like you are pretty rare." Her words were like, "Honey, I decided to take it as a direct compliment." When the check came, I grabbed it first. She insisted on Venmoing me her half, but I waved her off. "Next time, you can buy me a coffee," I said. She finally relented, putting her phone away with a faint, lingering smile. From that day on, I made it my mission to win her over. At first, she was reserved, her texts were short, and she usually turned down my dinner invitations, saying she was busy. But I was persistent, constantly finding excuses to be around her. Slowly, she started coming around, agreeing to meet up to walk around a street fair or check out a new museum exhibit. After finding out her birthday, I went to Nordstrom and bought her a designer handbag. It wasn't a top-tier luxury brand, but still cost me my entire monthly bonus. When she opened the gift, she stared at it for a long time, her face flushing. "This is way too much," she stammered. "I can't accept this." I gently pushed the bag into her hands. "You can't refuse a birthday gift. If it makes you feel better, just promise you'll answer my texts more often." A few days later, I saw her carrying that bag to work. My heart swelled. It felt like a sign that she liked me, that she was willing to accept what I had to offer. Looking back, I was sick. I had a terminal case of being a total sap, and I loved every minute of it. Part 4. Before I knew it, our first anniversary of meeting was approaching. The air in the city seemed charged with romance. I booked a table a month in advance at an exclusive French bistro she'd mentioned wanting to try, the kind with a panoramic view of the skyline. I also bought a delicate diamond necklace with a small star-shaped pendant that I thought would perfectly match her sparkling eyes. That night, the warm ambient light of the restaurant made her face look incredibly soft. I slid the velvet box across the table. My heart was hammering against my ribs. "Chloe, I'm falling for you. I want to be with you. This isn't just a fling for me. I'm serious. Will you be my girlfriend?" Her fingers trembled slightly as she held the box. After a long, agonizing pause, she finally spoke in a small voice. "Ethan, you're so good to me. I'm afraid I'm not good enough for you." "That doesn't matter," I said, taking her hand. It was cold, so I squeezed it gently. "The only thing that matters is if you're willing to give us a try. I know you're a kind, hardworking person, and that's more than enough." That night, with a soft nod, she agreed to be my girlfriend. We were officially a couple, exactly 1 year to the day after we first met. Once we were together, I doubled down. Her apartment was far from the dealership, forcing her to wake up at dawn to catch the train. So, I found her a new place, a condo with a balcony, just a few minutes from her work. It had great morning light where she could grow the succulents she loved. I insisted on covering the rent. Just focus on your job, I told her. Don't worry about this. She was always complaining about being cold in the winter, so I bought her a heated blanket, an electric hand warmer, and a long down-filled parka that covered her from head to toe. This will protect your legs, I said. You won't be cold anymore. One day, she mentioned that her younger brother was short on his community college tuition and that her mom had asked her to chip in. She was too embarrassed to ask me for help. When I found out, I immediately zelled her $3,000. You never have to be formal with me. I told her, if you're ever in trouble, you tell me. Don't carry it all by yourself. Chloe, in her own way, reciprocated. She agreed to move in with me. And every morning she'd wake up early to make me breakfast. Perfectly fried eggs, crispy toast, and a glass of warm milk. If I worked late, she'd leave a light on for me and a bowl of soup warming on the stove. We were like any other couple. We spent weekends going to movies and hiking in the nearby canyons. We took short road trips up the coast. She would unwrap a piece of candy and pop in my mouth while I was driving. I would notice her lingering over a pair of earrings in a shop and surprise her with them a week later. I thought we would go on like that forever. I started planning our future, thinking that once things felt a little more settled, I'd propose and ask her to marry me. But that idyllic peace was shattered 6 months later by the arrival of Ryan Peterson, Chloe's childhood friend. Part 5. Chloe told me Ryan was the guy she grew up with. And now that he knew she was in a serious relationship, he was curious and wanted to meet me. Figuring it was harmless to meet one of her friends, I agreed. We met at a popular Korean barbecue place. Ryan was wearing a generic plaid shirt and faded jeans. He looked like a regular working-class guy, and it was obvious he wasn't in the same financial league as me. He saw Chloe and gave her a quick familiar hug before turning to me and extending a hand. You must be Ethan. Chloe's told me a lot about you. You're a good guy. Nice to meet you, Ryan, I said, shaking his hand. His grip was limp, and his smile seemed friendly enough, but there was something in his eyes that didn't feel genuine. It was like looking through a fog. I've been meaning to meet you, Ryan said, clapping me on the shoulder with a forced heartiness. Chloe's never had a serious boyfriend before. You must be something special to have landed her. You'd better treat her right. She's a sweet girl, easily hurt. I will. I nodded, my internal alarm bells quieting down a bit. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But in the weeks that followed, I realized Ryan was inserting himself into our lives more and more, always with some passive-aggressive comment ready. One time, the three of us were out to dinner. Chloe ordered a few mild dishes, and Ryan looked at her plate and chuckled. Chloe, you used to be the queen of spicy food. Couldn't get enough of it. What happened? Did you give it up because Ethan can't handle the heat? You don't have to change for him, you know. Just order what you like. A relationship shouldn't be about sacrificing yourself. Chloe paused, then quickly explained, No, it's not that. I've just had an upset stomach lately and want to take it easy. It has nothing to do with Ethan. Another time, I was deliberately talking about our life together, mentioning how Chloe would make breakfast for me every morning. Ryan immediately jumped in. See, Ethan, Chloe is so thoughtful. She works hard all day and still gets up early to make you breakfast. But remember, chores are a two-way street. You can't let her do everything. If you're too busy with work, you should hire a cleaner. A girlfriend isn't a live-in maid. Chloe, just laugh it off. It's not a big deal. I actually like doing things together around the house. It's nice. You're just too considerate, always thinking of others. Ryan sighed, shooting me a meaningful look. Ethan, you better appreciate what you've got. Girls like her are hard to find. I didn't say anything, but I was getting annoyed. Who was he to lecture me about my own relationship? But seeing that Chloe didn't seem to mind, I swallowed my irritation and let it go. A few weeks later, Chloe and I had plans to see a new romantic comedy. I'd already bought the tickets online. Right as we were about to leave, Ryan called her. He said he had nothing to do and saw on her Instagram story that she was going to see that movie. Since he had no one to go with, could he tag along? Chloe glanced at me, a little hesitant. But after he kept pressing, she caved. When we got to the theater, Ryan immediately sat down next to Chloe, leaving me on her other side. Halfway through the movie, during a particularly emotional scene, Chloe rested her head on my shoulder, and I wrapped my arm around her waist. Ryan saw this and leaned over, his voice a stage whisper, just loud enough for us to hear. Wow, Chloe, you never used to lean on anyone during movies. Must be really tired lately. Ethan, you shouldn't let her get so worn out. She has a delicate constitution. You need to take better care of her. I gritted my teeth, a hot flash of anger rising in my chest. I wanted to tell him to shut the hell up, but we were in a public place. I held my tongue. Chloe just patted my hand and whispered, "Don't mind him. He's just talking." As time went on, I noticed a change in Chloe. She started echoing Ryan's sentiments, complaining that I didn't seem to care about her as much as I used to, or asking why I never helped with the dishes anymore. She would even start little fights with me over things Ryan had said. I tried talking to her about it several times. "I think Ryan has a crush on you," I said. "That's why he's always trying to drive a wedge between us. You should keep your distance from him," but she would just laugh. "You're overthinking it. Ryan is like a brother to me. He's just protective and wants to make sure I'm okay. He doesn't mean any harm by it. Don't misunderstand him." There was nothing I could do but tolerate it. But the resentment was building, and the sweet, easy love we once had was starting to show cracks. The breaking point came on our 1-year anniversary. Part 7. I had booked a table at that French bistro she'd always wanted to go to, the one with the incredible view of the river. I'd also bought a pair of matching couples rings, planning to give them to her as a surprise and start a serious conversation about our future. We had just sat down and ordered when her phone buzzed. It was a text from Ryan. She glanced at it, then looked at me apologetically. Ryan said he's in the neighborhood for a work thing. He heard we were here and wants to stop by to say hi. The anger I'd been suppressing for months surged to the surface. I managed to force the word out through clenched teeth. "Fine." A few minutes later, Ryan appeared at our table holding a small gift box. He handed it straight to Chloe. "Chloe, I know it's your anniversary, so I got you a little something. Wishing you and Ethan all the best." "You shouldn't have," Chloe said, taking the box. She opened it to find a delicate silver bracelet engraved with a tiny letter. "Remember how you always wanted a silver bracelet when we were kids?" Ryan said with a nostalgic smile, as if they shared some sacred, unbreakable bond. "Our families couldn't afford it back then. Consider this a long, overdue gift." Chloe's eyes welled up, and her voice was thick with emotion. "Thank you, Ryan. I can't believe you remembered after all these years." "Of course I did. We grew up together," he said, then turned to me, his tone dripping with condescension. "So, Ethan, what did you get for her?" "Something much more expensive than my little trinket. I'm sure a guy with your money wouldn't skimp on an occasion like this." "I got her something," I said flatly, my hand tightening around the ring box in my pocket. The rage was making my vision swim, but Ryan wasn't done. "Well, let's see it. Don't be shy. We're all friends here." I ignored him. Chloe didn't say a word to defend me. She was just sitting there mesmerized by the silver bracelet, seeing my silence as weakness. Ryan grew bolder. He reached across the table, picked up the ring box I placed there, and opened it. Inside were the 2 simple, elegant rings. He scoffed. "Is this it? Seriously, Ethan? A couple of tiny rings for your anniversary. Do you even love her? If I were a boyfriend, I'd be buying her a real diamond." Chloe remained silent, not stopping Ryan, not defending me. In that instant, watching her silent complicity, the last ember of hope I had for us died. It turned to ice in my veins. I picked up my glass of Cabernet, stood up, and calmly poured the entire contents over Ryan's head. The dark red liquid streamed down his hair and face, soaking the collar of his shirt in a pathetic, messy stain. "Are you crazy?" Ryan sputtered, pointing a dripping finger at me. Wine dripped from his chin onto his expensive shirt, creating an absurd, abstract painting. Other diners were staring, some pulling out their phones to record. Chloe's face went crimson. She grabbed my arm and hissed, "Ethan, stop it. Apologize to Ryan right now. Apologize." I yanked my arm away. My voice was cold and hard. "He crashes our anniversary dinner and insults me to my face. And you want me to apologize? Chloe, open your eyes. He's the one who started this." Chloe was speechless, but still turned to Ryan with a pleading look. Ryan, I'm so sorry. Ethan's just in a bad mood tonight. Don't take it personally. Let me get you a napkin. Ryan slapped her hand away and glared at me. Carter, you're going to regret this. This isn't over. He then stormed out of the restaurant, dripping wine all the way. After he left, the stares from the other tables continued. Chloe sat there, her eyes red, not saying a word. Looking at her, I felt nothing but a cold void where my love used to be. I grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair. I'm leaving. You can finish your dinner. Ethan, she cried, jumping up to grab my arm. He was just being blunt. Was that any reason to make a huge scene now? Everyone here thinks we're a joke. Better to be a joke than a fool, I said, shaking her off for the last time. Chloe, we're done. The party the next day. She showed up at our apartment while I was packing. We need to talk, she said, her voice shaky. Nothing to talk about, I said, not looking at her as I tossed my clothes into a suitcase. I made myself clear last night. I know Ryan was out of line, but you can't treat him like that, she pleaded. We've been together for so long. Are you really going to throw it all away over one stupid fight? One stupid fight. I stopped and finally looked at her. Chloe, be honest with yourself. Is that all this is? He has been systematically trying to ruin our relationship for months, and you never once stood up for me. You always took his side. Tell me, what am I supposed to think? She opened her mouth, but no defense came out. Finally, she started to cry. I didn't mean for it to happen. Ryan's my oldest friend. I don't want to make things awkward. Ethan, please just give me one more chance. I promise I'll keep my distance from him. Seeing her tears, I hesitated. A part of me, the part that had invested so much time and money, felt a pang of regret. I hadn't grown tired of her yet, and the thought of starting over was exhausting. After a long silence, I relented. Fine, one more chance. But I'm warning you, if anything like this ever happens again, we are over for good. She rushed forward and threw her arms around me. Thank you, Ethan. I won't let you down. I promise. Part 9. From that day on, I changed. Before, I would have given Chloe the world. If she mentioned a new handbag she liked, I'd order it online that day. If she talked about a new restaurant, I'd book a table a week in advance. If she casually remarked that she was running low on a face cream, I'd buy her the entire skincare line and have it waiting on her vanity. Now, I started to pull back. Whenever she hinted at wanting something, I'd pretend I didn't hear. On holidays, I stopped planning elaborate surprises. At most, she'd get a happy Valentine's Day before I headed home to spend the evening with my parents. On the surface, however, I was still the beautiful boyfriend. I did my share of the chores. If she worked late, I'd pick her up. When she was upset, I'd listen patiently, offering the same comforting words and compliments as before. At first, Chloe didn't seem to notice, assuming I was just busy with work. But after a while, the complaint started. Ethan, do you not love me anymore? Of course I do, I replied dismissively. Just been swamped at work lately. Inside, I was sneering. If you wanted a partner to build a life with, you shouldn't have let your friends sabotage us. It wasn't long before Ryan came sniffing around again. He'd heard we were having problems and showed up to mediate, putting on a show of fake sincerity. Ethan, man, I was wrong that night at the restaurant. I shouldn't have interfered. Don't take it out on Chloe. She really cares about you. I just looked at him, his hypocrisy thick enough to choke on, and silently turned on my phone's voice recorder. I was curious to see what other garbage would come out of his mouth. Over the next year and a half, Ryan remained a presence in our lives, though he was more subtle with his manipulations. During that time, Chloe and I fought constantly about my refusal to celebrate holidays or buy her gifts. Each time, I'd use work as an excuse, or when cornered, I'd turn it back on her. If you're so unhappy with me, why don't you go cry to your dear brother Ryan? He seems to think he knows what's best for you. Whenever I said that, Chloe would immediately soften and back down. That's not what I meant, Ethan. I only want you. Please don't think that. Watching her walk on eggshells around me gave me a cold, detached sense of amusement. I assumed that eventually she'd get tired of this lukewarm relationship and break up with me. I never expected her to bring up marriage. One evening after dinner, she was sitting on the couch, nervously clicking the TV remote. The silence in the room was heavy. Ethan, she finally said, her voice tight with anxiety. We've been together for almost 3 years. Don't you think it's time we started thinking about getting married? I was reading a report for work and looked up, surprised. Married? Yeah. She nodded, a hopeful glint in her eyes. My parents have been asking. They think we're at that age where we should be settling down. I put the report down and leaned back. I'm not ready to get married. Her face fell. When do you think you'll be ready? A cruel smile touched my lips. I don't know, I said, dragging out the words. Not anytime soon. Her expression hardened. After a moment of silence, she changed the subject, her tone now probing. My brother is looking to buy a condo, but he's short about $20,000 for the down payment. I was wondering if you could maybe lend it to him. He'll pay you back as soon as he can. At that, I laughed out loud. I looked her straight in the eye, my voice like ice. No, I'm looking at buying an investment property myself, right now. My cash is tied up. How can it be tied up? Your family is loaded, she said, her voice rising with frustration. It's only $20,000. It's nothing to you. Even if it is nothing, I have no obligation to finance your brother's real estate ventures, I said, standing up. If you're that desperate for cash, why don't you ask Ryan? He cares so much about you. I'm sure he'd be happy to help. Ryan, is that all you could talk about? She shrieked, her face contorting with anger. You just don't want to marry me, and you're using him as an excuse. Part 10. Listening to her rant, a wave of pure exhaustion washed over me. I was done playing this game. 3 years was long enough. I looked at her, my voice calm and final. Let's break up. She froze, stunned into silence. It was clear she never thought I'd be the one to end it. What did you say? You're breaking up with me. You'll regret this, Ethan. The only one with regrets here should be you, I said, turning to go pack my things. I'm moving out tonight. The rent is paid through the end of next month. After that, it's on you. As I packed, she sat in the living room, sobbing and muttering about how she'd wasted her life on me, how I was a heartless bastard. I walked out with my suitcase and never looked back. Before I even got in my car, I had blocked her number and all her social media profiles. I want a clean break. I never wanted to think about this miserable relationship again. I thought that would be the end of it. I never imagined how far she would go. 2 weeks later, I was in the middle of a quarterly review meeting at work when I got a call from the police department. They told me Chloe Miller had filed a report accusing me of sexual assault. The world tilted on its axis. Assault. We were in a relationship for 3 years. How could anything have been forced? I excused myself from the meeting and drove to the station in a daze. When I saw Chloe, she was dressed in all black, her hair a mess, her eyes red and swollen. She looked like the perfect victim. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with venomous hatred. You animal, Ethan, she screamed, pointing a trembling finger at me as tears streamed down her face. Anyone who didn't know the story would have believed her completely. I was shaking with rage. Chloe, what the hell are you talking about? We were a couple for 3 years. When did I ever force you to do anything? Being a couple doesn't give you the right to force me, she sobbed. A month ago, you forced yourself on me. I tried to fight you off, but you were too strong. Watching her performance, I felt a mix of fury and disgust. I couldn't believe she would sink this low. Fortunately, I had seen stories online about men being falsely accused after messy breakups, especially when money was involved. When we were living together, I had installed a small security camera in the living room, ostensibly to keep an eye on the place. When you stop loving someone, you start anticipating the worst from them. Chloe did not disappoint. Officer, I said, turning to the policeman, I never forced her to do anything. We were in a relationship, and I have video evidence to prove my innocence. The footage will show that our interactions before the breakup were completely normal for a couple. The officer looked at me, then back at Chloe. Why did you have a camera in your living room? I offered a silent apology to my landlord and came up with a lie. I'd read stories about landlords entering tenants' apartments without permission. I was just being cautious. He nodded and told me to produce the footage. Thankfully, the camera was connected to the cloud. I pulled up the app on my phone. The video clearly showed the last evening we spent together. I came home from work. Chloe was on the couch watching TV. We ate dinner, and later we kissed in the living room. There was no sign of reluctance on her part. The officer turned off the video, his expression grim as he looked at her. "Miss Miller, do you have an explanation for this?" Her face went pale and her lips trembled. She couldn't form a coherent sentence. Finally, she mumbled, "I was just so angry. He broke up with me and I wasn't thinking straight. I just wanted him to apologize. I didn't really mean to press charges." "So, you filed a false report?" The officer's voice rose. "Do you have any idea what the consequences of a false accusation are? If he didn't have this footage to prove his innocence, his life could have been ruined, his job, his reputation, all destroyed because you were upset." Fresh tears streamed down her face, but this time they were tears of panic, not performance. She looked at me, her eyes pleading, "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I know I was wrong. Can you please forgive me? I'll never do it again." In the end, because her false accusation didn't lead to severe consequences and she admitted her fault, the police let her off with a stern warning and made her write a formal letter of apology. But I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Part 11. The day after I left the police station, I hired a lawyer. We filed a civil suit against Chloe Miller for the return of all high-value assets and funds provided to her during our relationship. You reap what you sow. I had kept records of everything. Receipts for the designer bags and jewelry, screenshots of the large Venmo and Zelle transfers, even records of the rent payments I'd made for her condo. I had saved them all in a folder, never imagining they'd become exhibits in a lawsuit. My lawyer reviewed the evidence. "Mr. Carter," he said, "you have a very strong case. While small gifts given during a relationship are generally not recoverable, you have a clear pattern of providing significant financial support and expensive items with the implicit understanding of shared future in marriage. Since that future is no longer happening, you have every right to demand their return." The court accepted the case. When Chloe received the summons, she blew up my phone, but I didn't answer. She showed up in my office building, but I had security prevent her from coming up. I had no desire to ever see her face to face again. On the day of the hearing, Chloe looked like a different person. She wore plain clothes, her hair was tied back messily, and she looked haggard and worn down. The polished, radiant woman I had fallen for was gone. In court, she argued that everything I gave her was a voluntary gift, not conditional on marriage. She claimed I was just a bitter ex trying to punish her. But when my lawyer presented our text message history, with me mentioning things like, "Once we're married, we should redecorate the house. We need to start thinking of names for our future kids. And where should we go for our honeymoon?" her defense crumbled. The judge ruled in my favor. Chloe was ordered to return assets and funds totaling $30,000. Part 12. After the judgment, Chloe didn't appeal, but she didn't pay either. She sent me a text message claiming she was broke. She said her parents were funneling all their money into her brother's new condo and refused to help her. I didn't reply. I just had my lawyer file a motion for enforcement. While I was waiting for the court to act, Chloe decided to start a new fire. She posted a long, rambling essay on her Instagram, painting herself as the victim. She wrote about how I had swept her off her feet with grand gestures and empty promises, only to turn into a cruel, petty monster after the breakup, demanding every gift back. She called me a cheap, vindictive, rich kid who thought his money gave him power over people. Her social media was full of her mutual friends and even some of my distant relatives. When we first started dating, I genuinely thought she was the one, so I had introduced her to everyone. I had posted dozens of pictures of us, happy and in love. Looking back at them now, it made me sick. Soon, my phone started buzzing with messages from people asking what was going on. A few of my clueless aunts called to tell me I shouldn't be so cruel to such a sweet girl. I didn't bother explaining. I just took a picture of the court judgment and her signed letter of apology from the police station and posted them on my own Instagram feed. My only caption was 4 words: "The facts speak for themselves." A few minutes later, I uploaded the audio files I had of Ryan's manipulative conversations, the ones where he was actively trying to sabotage our relationship. The caption for that post was, "I was just tired of being a pawn in your game with your childhood friend." My feed exploded. The truth, backed by undeniable evidence, was brutal. Chloe's reputation was instantly incinerated. She quickly deleted her post and made her account private, retreating like a turtle into its shell. It didn't take long for her to show up at my door. Part 13. I had just gotten home from work when I saw her standing on the sidewalk in front of my apartment building. She was wearing a faded t-shirt and old jeans, a ghost of the impeccably dressed woman I once knew. Her eyes were puffy and she looked utterly defeated. She ran up to me the moment she saw me, grabbing my arm. Her voice was a desperate plea. "Ethan, please. I'm begging you. Take down those posts. Everyone is calling me horrible names. I can't even leave my house. I'm about to lose my job." I pulled my arm away and took a step back. "You're asking for my help now? Where was this concern when you were slandering me online? Did you ever stop to think how your lies would affect me? I know I was wrong, Ethan. I really do," she sobbed. "I shouldn't have posted that. I was just desperate. Please, just forgive me this one time." "Forgive you?" I looked at her, my expression unreadable. "Chloe, this isn't the first time you've said you were wrong. You said it when you defended Ryan. You said it when you filed a false police report. And now that you've hit rock bottom, you're saying it again. Why should I believe you?" She was speechless, able to do nothing but stand there and cry. After a moment, as if struck by a new idea, she did something I never expected. She dropped to her knees on the pavement and grabbed the hem of my pants. "What if we got back together? I never did anything with Ryan. I swear. My coworker said I was just a gold digger with you, and I felt so insecure. Listening to him made me feel better about myself. That's all." She was insane. Whether that was true or not, her logic was twisted. Someone makes fun of you, so you entertain another man to make yourself feel better. "Fine. I'll forgive you on one condition," I said, my voice cold. "Pay me the $30,000 you owe me." At the mention of the money, her face fell. "I can't. I don't have it. My parents gave everything to my brother. They won't help me." Her salary had been going to support her family for the past 2 years. Ever since I stopped paying for her lifestyle, freezing her bank account would be useless. "That's your problem, not mine." I cut her off. "We're in this mess largely because of Ryan. You seem to think he's your knight in shining armor. Go ask him for the money. Have him marry you and use the wedding gift money to pay me back." She shook her head. "He won't marry me. He told me he's not ready to settle down." "He's not ready to settle down with you," I said, twisting the knife. "He just liked the idea of you. He saw you as a prize to be won, but he also knows you're expensive and you have a leech for a brother. He never had any intention of taking responsibility. Why else do you think he only made a move after you already had a boyfriend? He wanted all the benefits with none of the cost." She hung her head silent as tears dripped onto the concrete. "But you know what?" I said, a sudden idea forming. "I'm a generous guy. You get that scumbag to marry you, and I'll consider the debt paid. You two deserve each other." Her eyes flickered with a strange light, a mixture of horror and desperate hope. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, I'll do it. I'll go find him." Watching her walk away so utterly broken, I felt no pity, only the clean, quiet relief of a long, overdue ending. Part 14. I heard from mutual friends that Chloe's reputation was so toxic that she couldn't stay at the Mercedes dealership anymore. She had to quit and find a job at a smaller, less prestigious lot across town. Things weren't much better for Ryan. With no other options, Chloe went to him. But the moment he saw her, his face soured. "What do you want, Ryan? You're all I have left," she cried. "Ethan is gone. My parents won't speak to me. Can you please help me?" "Help you? How am I supposed to help you?" Ryan scoffed. "I don't have that kind of money. You're on your own." He turned and walked away without another word. Completely desperate, Chloe and her brother started showing up at Ryan's office, causing scenes and harassing him in front of his colleagues. Ryan even had the audacity to call me, demanding I get my girlfriend under control. "You always said I didn't treat her right," I told him, enjoying every second. "Now's your chance. She's all yours. Treat her well." Eventually, Chloe's parents, furious that she had lost her rich fiancé, joined the battle, putting even more pressure on Ryan. I knew all of this because Chloe's brother, a prime example of son spoiled by a family that values boys over girls, was feeding me information for a bribe of $100. He was more than happy to give me regular updates on Ryan's miserable life. Finally, Ryan broke. He agreed to marry Chloe, paying her family a bride price of $35,000, just enough to cover her debt to me and shut her brother up for a while. In return, Chloe's dowry consisted of 3 sets of bed sheets. True to my word, I had my lawyer drop the enforcement action. Chloe and Ryan didn't have a wedding, just a quiet trip to the courthouse. I heard their life together was anything but peaceful. He resented her for being a financial drain, and she resented him for not being me. Their apartment became a war zone. Her brother was a constant presence, always asking for more money, sparking new and more bitter arguments. Sometimes I still thought about her and the wreckage of her life. I found I couldn't bring myself to be completely indifferent. So I started sending some of my friends and business contacts who were in the market for a new car her way. I couldn't guarantee she'd make the sale,